Some may consider Jamaica the most popular island of the former British colonies in the Caribbean. Wherever you stand on the debate, Jamaicans undoubtedly had a great deal of influence on the world around them. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at the history of Jamaicans. What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. The link to Patreon is in the description box below. Also, stay tuned with a word from my sponsors.
Have you ever wanted to learn an African language? If so, keep watching. There are many ways to connect to different African cultures. Many do it through the enjoyment of the music, the dancing, and my personal favorite, the food. But when it comes to learning the languages, that can be a bit challenging. So here we are. We here at Speak Afrique are trying to lay the groundwork to build that bridge with our new short phrases and vocabulary series. These are the seed projects to something much larger that we're building. We currently have languages such as Twi, Kikongo, Mandinka, Igbo, and many more will be added as time goes on. So, if you want to start your journey to connecting to Mama Africa, head over to Speak Afrique on iTunes or Amazon and let's start learning together. Ngiyabonga. Salami kahle.
The overwhelming majority of Jamaican people today are of African descent. Some scholars believe that the name Jamaica was originally a Taino word called Jamaica, meaning land of springs. Jamaicans were originally brought to the island as enslaved Africans in 1517 by the Spanish. The original inhabitants of Jamaica were the Arawak Indians. Unfortunately, over time, they were gradually replaced by the arrival of the Spanish and British in the 16th and 17th centuries. Like many other regions throughout the Caribbean and South America, as the Spanish were trying to consolidate their power, enslaved Jamaicans were able to gain varying levels of freedom by establishing maroon settlements. Maroon settlements can be described as an isolated region that former enslaved Africans inhabit, forming an autonomous zone. Some of them became powerful enough to consistently fend off Spanish and British attempts at control. The most powerful of the maroon settlements in Jamaica were in the eastern part of the island. By the time the British came to power, the most powerful maroon settlements were the Windward and Leeward Maroons. Aside from the Haitian Revolution, the maroon settlements of Jamaica were perhaps the most successful of the independent regions established by former enslaved Africans in the Caribbean. Modern Jamaicans today take pride in their maroon communities. It took great physical and political sacrifice to maintain their independence. One salient aspect of Jamaican culture is undoubtedly the Rastafarian movement of the 1930s, the founders being Leonard Howell, Joseph Hibbert, Robert Hines, Archibald Dunkley, and Altamont Reed. These men assiduously preached around Jamaica about Haile Selassie and his divine status according to biblical interpretation. Rastafarianism can best be described as an African-oriented, Judeo-Christian influenced religious social movement that originated in Jamaica in the early 1930s. It was inspired by the crowning of Haile Selassie I as Emperor of Ethiopia in 1930. One of the central tenets of Rastafarianism is that Haile Selassie is a descendant of King David, which the Bible cites as one of the necessary criteria for the returned Messiah. When Rastafari was crowned Emperor Haile Selassie I, he was bestowed the titles King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conquering Lion of the Tribe of Judah, Elect of God, and Light of the World. The Rastafarian movement became incredibly influential and by proxy centralized Jamaica in the minds of many. Over the course of the last few decades, the Rastafarian movement has managed to extend its reach and influence throughout the entire English-speaking Caribbean and to a lesser extent the non-English speaking Caribbean as well, serving as a powerful social common denominator linking desperate youth across the region by simultaneously providing a vehicle whereby blacks in the diaspora can cultivate or recreate a lost African heritage and cultural identity. Some consider Rastafarianism to be an extension of so-called Ethiopianism, which was largely disseminated by Marcus Garvey, arguably the most popular intellectual in Jamaican history. Jamaica's contribution to the Pan-African movement is quite large. According to the Encyclopedia of the African Diaspora, Marcus Garvey led the largest Pan-African movement in history in the 1920s. His contributions led to the proliferation of Jamaica's positive reputation around the diaspora. If that wasn't enough, Bob Marley, the legendary reggae artist, took Jamaican influence worldwide. Not only did reggae originate in Jamaica, but it produced one of the most popular artists in world history. His music captured the essence of the Black experience throughout the world. Bob Marley was born in the parish of St. Ann in Jamaica, West Indies, on February 6, 1945. Marley's legendary status as an international reggae superstar, however, benefited most directly from the ability of his music to capture and express a century-long tradition of the struggle for Black freedom across the diaspora, from Africa to the Caribbean to the United States, from the Maroons of the colonial period to the Buffalo Soldiers of the 19th century, and from the days of slavery to the days of the decolonization movements in Africa in the late 20th century. Throughout the Caribbean, many different accents exist, but the Jamaican accent is perhaps the most recognized and mimicked in Western popular culture. Some people call it Jamaican Creole, but most Jamaicans call it Patois. Patois is primarily English with a mixture of some African languages. My personal impression of Patois is that even though it's primarily English-based, there is a clear tonal expression that gives it a unique African character. Most Jamaicans can fluently transition from proper English to Jamaican Patois with ease. Though the use of Patois in school or university settings were historically shunned, many Jamaican intellectuals, writers, and musicians see it as an important aspect of their work and identity. Well, guys. There's so much more to learn about Jamaican people. This was only a brief introduction to their history. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself, remember your ancestors. Peace.